Welcome in. This is 300 Yards to Unknown. I'm Rick Gehman. That right there is Reid Fowler. You know him from DraftKings. And Reid, the tournament isn't in its nitty gritty until I see your face on a playing through commercial describing the upcoming, 18th hole or whatever it's going to be. That's when I know things are getting hot and heavy.
Oh man, no, I appreciate being here, man. This is I've been lobbying Rick to get on the 300 Yards to Unknown since 2019 when we were playing golf together. No, I'm kidding. Good to see you, bud. Yeah, it's always nice when you get a text from your uncle or from your auntie or from family members saying, "Hey, I just saw you on TV," and then I remember, I'm like, "Oh yeah, if you're watching golf, you'll see me and Bryson chatting it up a little bit."
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Is it weird seeing yourself on TV? Like I don't like to watch myself after the fact, right? It's whatever, it's done with. I know what I said. I don't need to watch it. Is that weird for you?
Yeah, and like everything, right? When you hear the sound of your own voice,
Yeah.
that's the other thing that really gets me is like, do I really sound like that? But yeah, like it's fun to watch the first couple of times because you just like I have been watching golf since I was a kid, and now I'm on the screen with these guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little weird for sure.
It's cool. I'm stoked for you. You always do great stuff. I mean, the partnership, I mean, with Bryson and DraftKings, that to me is pretty monumental. I mean, the fact that now the PGA Tour is allowing players to kind of embrace the fantasy / gaming side of it more and more. The tour has its own partners. But when I saw the press release that signed Bryson, I mean, and it's clear now there is no one that moves the needle. There is no one that gets the type of discussion one way or another more than Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, and we did studies too, Rick. It wasn't just, oh, this guy is really good at golf, which he is, right? That's, I think, the baseline of anything is you have to be talented at what you do. But it was also, are people more inclined to watch a tournament if Bryson is playing? And who else, Rick, and you know the answer to this question, who else does that? Who's the only other person who you could slot into that question and people are going to go to their TV, right? So Bryson was that guy. He's one of the best, in terms of content, and I'm sure we'll get to that in a little bit as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was definitely something that not just from like an audience and from a gaming and DFS, what it means for us and for our industry, but I was at the PGA Championship at Kiawah, and I was following Dylan Fratelli, and I think he was playing with Kokrak because I had a head-to-head, and it was good on the front nine. Back nine, not so much. Kokrak absolutely slammed the door shut on Fratelli. But like I think on the 6th or 7th hole, maybe Fratelli, maybe he either saved par or maybe saved bogey on one of these difficult par fours. And I'm standing right where the guys, kind of go off the greens, go to the next tee box. And I'm wearing my DraftKings shirt. And he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, do you work at DraftKings?" I've never met Dylan Fratelli at all. Never talked to him on social media, nothing. We've never interviewed him. And I was like, "Yeah." And we started talking. He's like, "Oh, is it only Bryson who's on the team right now?" Oh. Right. And so we exchanged a couple of pleasantries and like the crowd that was there just saying, "Hey, do you know him? Did you set this up?" I'm like, "No, I'm just standing here as a fan. As someone who's got money on Fratelli." I didn't say anything to him like, "Oh, I got money on you," right, or this or that. But that also now is another part of it, right, Rick, is that how many players now see what Bryson is doing, see the potential in that, and now want to be part of that. We've seen it now with Jordan Spieth, with FanDuel. So more to come, right?
Yeah, certainly more to come. And I know there's a couple of guys who love to engage in, a wager on a football game themselves. And they're very familiar with a lot of these sites like DraftKings and making wagers. So yeah, I'm interested. I just love the kind of juxtaposition of Bryson DeChambeau wearing his Ben Hogan hat, right? Like this old school Ben Hogan cap. And on the side is DraftKings. Like I just love that so much. Something about it.
Yeah, it's great. I got a couple of hats too. There's a couple of Ben Hogan hats that he gave us after that shoot. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what I'm like. I would look absolutely silly. And you know this, we've played golf together.
Yeah.
I think anyone not named Payne Stewart, Ben Hogan, or Bryson would look silly. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with them, because they're just right now they're just sitting on the bookshelf right now.
It's tough to pull off. He can do it. It's tough for most other people. So you are obviously one of the few people who have kind of been at least within the inner circle of Bryson DeChambeau when cameras are not necessarily on. He's going through a moment right now, Reid. I mean, this is now going on a couple of months where the Brooks and Bryson feud was fun and they were barbing back and forth, and then it kind of became one-sided, and then it started to get a little uglier as fans were out on the golf course again. And finally, Commissioner Jay Monahan took the opportunity to announce, like, hey, we're going to start kind of enforcing the rule that says if you're yelling something out, if you're doing anything that is kind of impacting play, that's what they can use. This is impacting play. You're going to start to be ejected. And as you can imagine, Reid, there are a lot of different opinions on whether that is the right or the wrong thing to do, but that's where we're at. And I think a lot of kind of the attention goes on to Bryson, and if he is, hey, should he just be ignoring it? Is he doing the right thing to stop the heckling? And we can argue that as well, but I think for someone like you who has chatted with him off camera, who knows him better than I mean, literally no one knows him when they go and watch him at the golf course. They don't know anything about him. Is he kind of how similar is he off camera, behind the scenes, to what we kind of see and what we hear eventually filtered through all of the media?
Yeah, I mean, when you're asking this question, there's about 18 different things that pop up in my mind where this can go, right? And to start, we've seen this a little bit from these guys like JT, right? Justin Thomas has kicked guys off the course for things that they've said. And I'm sure and you've been to golf tournaments, and some golf tournaments like the Phoenix Open, right? That's the extreme. Can allow it. You see like the full range of things that happen in characters, and then places like Augusta National just won't have any of it, right? Here are the rules. If you don't like it, get off our hallowed grounds. And everyone says, yes.
I agree.
I agree. I comply. Here's my signature here. So this is not new. And I think it was deliberate that Jay Monahan did it after we got away from Northern Trust, right? If you came out and said this before going to Jersey City, New York, I mean, how many of those people would be yelling Brooksy like in unison, right? It's deliberate in that nature. And what Monahan is doing, which is what he's supposed to be doing, is protecting the tour and protecting the players. So I don't knock Monahan for doing that. On the other side, you kind of hear these guys and you know, you hear them kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth, being like, hey, like, just play golf. Like, we're playing golf. We're getting paid millions of dollars to play golf. Like, this is part of it. And no other association, unless it's derogatory, and we've seen this in baseball, we've seen this in basketball, NFL, everything, unless it's derogatory, will you get kicked out? It's just part of the game, right? It's just part of it. And when you welcome in all of this attention like Bryson has, either, you know, by design or not, there's going to be a side of it that you're not going to like. He's always mentioned too, and he's mentioned it to me and just on camera, is that he never set out to be famous, right? That's just a byproduct of him, the sport, which is a good thing that there's more eyeballs on Bryson and on golf. But there is, again, a negative side to it. What I will say off camera with Bryson is, like, he is the same type of guy. Like, he wants to tell you how much he knows about golf. Like, but not in a way where it's like, you know nothing, Jon Snow. Like, in a way where it's like, hey, I absolutely love and adore this sport, where it's like, it's just my life force, right? It's my life force that without it, I wouldn't, like, it'd be tough to, you know, to figure out what I would want to do.
Right.
When we were like in between shots, I think we're at lunch when we were doing that commercial shoot that you see all those playing throughs. You know, we did like 8 or 9, I forget how many tournaments that we shot, but we were at lunch, and he spent the entire time, Rick, and he was off to the side. Like, we were all eating lunch, crew was eating lunch, and he was off to the corner. This was, you know, way back. I can't remember when. And he was talking to either his ball manufacturer, or maybe it was Cobra, whoever it was, for an entire hour and a half about like the littlest thing, and he was talking to his manager and his caddy and his agent about, you see how the ball spins off the face if you do this and do that. And this is when the cameras weren't rolling. Now, granted, there was 15 of us behind the camera. I was next to him, and maybe he was doing it a little bit. This is right after I think it was right after the players.
Okay.
So I think he came in third at that point. So he was coming off a little bit of a high, and where he was doing well. And so maybe it was a little bit of that, and he was excited. But I can't say this enough about Bryson to people who ask. He's one of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet. And I think he gets a bad rap because he doesn't know how yet to be a certain type of person in front of the camera, where it's like you're trying not to be that guy, but you're being that guy, right? It's kind of hard to explain, but he's like one of the nicest guys that I've come across, who's top 10 in their sport, right?
Yeah.
Currently. I think he handles things a little bit differently than I think we as a community seeing, hey, like this is how it's supposed to be done. And he's not doing it that way right now. And I think he gets a bad rap for that.
Do you think he cares too much about what other people think about him?
I think everybody does. Like I think everybody cares what people think about, like what other people think about them, right? So like as a baseline, people say like they don't, like there's maybe one person, it's maybe my dad, who like truly doesn't care.
Does not care at all.
Does not care. Could live his entire life. Even my brother, even me and my brother, like what we think or say, like he's probably the one person who's like, I could, give a rat's what about what you think. But I do think that everyone does, right, to an extent. I do think that like any kid, Rick, like when we were in our 20s, like you speak, then you think. Right. Yes. Like, and how much of us have millions of people on maybe you do, I don't have millions of people watching on social media, have a fan base like Bryson. And, he says the wrong things. Now, it's not an excuse. It's not a free pass. Like, you kind of have to think about what you're going to say. You're in a position now of influence. And so you really have to think about what you want to say. But I do think that right now for Bryson, it's a turning point, right? It's a pivotal moment in his career where he's going to have to harness what that energy is and focus it even more into not just the physical, because we know he can get that going. And any athlete, if you play sports, if you're an athlete, it's quote unquote easier to reach your like physical apex, right? Like the absolute zenith of your physicalness, of pushing it to where you're repping out and you have to max out. But mentally and emotionally, especially in golf, that's got to be the thing that he harnesses that energy. And we've seen it, man, time and time again. We saw it with Rory when he became much more introverted and introspective into how his mind and spirit think. We see it with Sergio when he won the Masters. Phil, after his post round after the PGA Championship, these guys all say, when I release these things mentally and emotionally, and I harness that energy, that's the part where you're going to see him, hit that stride where you thought we only use 10% of our brain. Right now, Bryson's probably at 10, 20% of his like actual potential. He gets all the other stuff out of the way. And like these guys too, Rick, like, and I know I'm going on and on and on, but these guys like on the PGA Tour, like they're like fraternity of, of people, like it's much different than like we think, right? Like these guys are independent contractors, right? But they see each other like 50 weeks out of the year.
Yeah, they're essentially like coworkers, right? They spend a lot of time with each other. Yeah.
You don't we all worked in office jobs. People who are listening all have or have worked in office jobs. You don't like every single person that you work with. That's just a common thing.
Yeah, we heard. I mean, remember when they had Mike? It must have been was it the play? I don't know where it was, but it's when they had mics everywhere, and Jordan Spieth and Colin Morikawa are talking about Rory Sabatini. There are guys that work for all of us that, hey, maybe I get along with, maybe I don't, maybe I don't vibe well, whatever. And they do range between, there's like a 20-year age gap for a lot of these guys. It's just like different generations and kind of weird. I find Bryson to be, so I actually thought Sunday at the BMW Championship, kind of in that playoff, that the final couple of holes with Patrick Cantlay, I love that version of Bryson, which to me, I saw him incredibly locked in. I saw him do the dorkiest, goofiest club twirl that I've ever seen anyone do on a golf course. But that's like genuine Bryson, right? Like, I don't want him to be the guy who thinks he has to make a statement on everything and prove that he's the smartest guy in the room about every single topic, from the ball velocity to vaccines. Like, I don't need him to be the smartest guy in the room on everything. I just want like genuine Bryson, loves the game. And like, I like that. Like, if it was just that version, I think he would be much, much more widely loved than this kind of lightning rod that he is.
Yeah, and golf is in such a unique position, right, Rick? It's a sport where, mostly affluent people play, right? And so you have a certain disposition about the people who are watching golf, people who have played golf. Look, like Bryson right now, he grew up in California. He now lives in Dallas, right? Like, you could make your assumptions on Bryson very quickly. But again, I've been fortunate enough to have met him a handful of times, talked to him off camera a bunch of times, at the PGA Championship on Wednesday at the PGA Championship on the putting green. And this guy's talking to me about the course. I'm not saying it's amazing, right? It's like, he is that guy, and he's engaging whether it's on camera or off. Like, he's a guy who, like, I haven't seen, again, and I'm going to hark on this. If anybody can go to a golf tournament, please do, because it's an entirely different experience. Watching it, pick your guys that you want to watch, because you can't watch everyone, and follow them. But see how these guys are with the fans as well when they're not on camera. And Bryson is one of the best in terms of fan engagement. Like, Phil's up there, obviously. But Phil, early in his career, wasn't that guy. Like, he was not that guy, and he became that guy. You see Bryson now really, really start to, and you see him too when, like, the crowd wants him to pull driver. What does he do?
Yeah,
He pulls driver. Like those are the things that I want to try to perpetuate about Bryson. That, like, look at those things and how he's doing that as opposed to the other stuff, because the other stuff can get muddied. And look, he says some things that not a lot of us like. But, like, take them both, right? Don't just look at the bad. Take them both and then make your own assumptions about or make your own decisions about the guy.
So this is a silly comparison to make, but I think it's kind of an important one. Bryson DeChambeau versus Happy Gilmore. Okay. Happy Gilmore, kind of game changer, does things differently, hits the ball a mile. People love watching him play off, and he's beloved because he's kind of the everyman, right? Bryson DeChambeau should be widely loved for breaking the game. What do people love more? If he just made every 40-footer, we wouldn't care. The fact that he hits it 400 yards, that's what people want. He should be widely embraced for the single length irons and the different putting styles that he has tried over the years, and the ability to hit bombs. And yet there is still a large portion that are just like, I can't get behind this. So I don't know if it's just because, I actually think all the stuff he's doing on the golf course is amazing. It's when he kind of steps off and says things to the media, which now, Reid, he's not really talking to the media. He's talking to you, I guess, right? I mean, you chatted with him. I thought I saw you talking to him. Was it in Jersey?
Yeah.
As he was still kind of giving the media the blackout a little bit. But is that, like, should he be not talking to the media? Should he be trying to, I don't want to say fix his image, but like, what, I don't know what's the end game here.
Yeah, I think it's a no-win right now for him.
Yeah.
Right, to talk to the media. And
I think so too. I don't like that he's doing it, but I also don't know what the positives that are going to come out of it. I think time heals all wounds, right? Like, does he just need time? I don't know.
Well, and look, and I say that because if he loses, like, if he doesn't do well, Bryson, all of the antics for Bryson are not worth it. All of the stupid workouts that he posts that we know nothing about, and the Instagram posts about this, that, and the other. He's just grandstanding, and it's not worth it. And if he wins, then he wins because he hits the ball 500 yards off the tee.
Yeah. So, anybody can win if they do that.
Right. Anybody can win if you do that. Right. So. Like, my whole thing too is, look, like anything, right? Whether it be NFTs, Rick, whether it be stonks, whether it be golf, whether it be anything, real estate, anything, right? It never goes up in a straight line. Never ever goes up in a straight line. And if you're there for the rise and you're a fan, or if you're someone that likes golf in general, be there for the dips too, right? expect those dips to happen. The guy is in his mid to late 20s. Like, how many stupid things that did all of us do in our 20s without a camera, without like millions, and like I would have 1,000 NFTs right now, Rick, if I had the amount of money that Bryson did, and that's probably not a smart thing to do, right? If you have all that money. So all I'm saying is, it's like you have to kind of take it holistically and think, man, if this guy is doing what he's doing, he is breaking, like we said, like the same way Tiger did. He is breaking the game of golf, and he should be applauded for that. But because golf is because it's a personality sport off the course, right? Because it's like, what is Ricky Fowler doing? What is Tiger doing? What is Brooksy doing? Like anything that Bryson does, let's see the response from Brooks. And I think it's great for the game because it's like professional wrestling, right? Like when CM Punk comes back, like the Twitter timeline goes absolutely crazy. and it's fantastic, right? If golf can get to that point, Rick, then a rising tide rises all ships. And Bryson, whether people want to believe it or not, is a huge ship in the ocean that's going to pull us forward to that spot. So
here's the issue. And I completely agree with you. The entertainment value, the WWE, the villains and heroes, that is a thing, and it's entertaining, and it's why Vince McMahon is as successful as he is. And it's good for sport. People hate the Dallas Cowboys. People love whatever. You can love Tom Brady. You can hate Tom Brady. The problem with Bryson, whether he wants it or not, he's the heel. And the heel has to embrace being the heel. And I'm not sure he wants that. I think he wants to be beloved. I think he believed winning the US Open was he won our championship, our national championship. That was going to be the moment. He was going to be widely beloved, and it didn't happen. And that's the disconnect. The only thing, because otherwise I think you're absolutely right. If Bryson was just like, all right, whatever, heel turn, here we go, I'd almost respect him more.
Exactly, right? Like embrace it. Embrace what that is. Like some people can't because it's not in their personality. And that goes back to your original question, right? Is like, do you think he wants to be liked and wants to be loved and he cares about what people think? If you think that he needs to, like, he's not going full heel turn, then absolutely he cares what people think, right? He's pandering to the crowd because he wants to be loved. It's the same as if, like, I think early on in Phil's career, right? Like you were on either side, and mostly because it was Tiger versus Phil.
Correct. Right.
And so like Tiger was the baby, like he was the guy, right? Like he was the guy who like everybody loved, and then Phil became the heel just because he was a byproduct of Tiger's success. Like Bryson right now, if he wants to become the heel, then like even more so to my point, do nothing. Do nothing, and it'll come naturally for people. People are gonna, like, even if he wins, like I mentioned, Rick, what if he wins a tour championship? Like if he wins $15 million, does that make him more beloved? Or people saying, God, like this guy needs more money and more attention? Like what's gonna happen, right? So like if he's like, you know what, I lose if I win, I lose if I lose. Just gonna do me. Spot. It's a tough spot for him. And like it's, man, putting yourself, because look, if you look at the top 10 golfers, right? Like outside, like even DJ, like outside of like Bryson, what personality can the PGA Tour, like they're protecting Bryson. Like Bryson is their right now is their guy because Tiger is not on the tour, right? Like he's not playing. So Bryson is their guy. So this is a much like, hey, we want to make sure we're doing everything that we can to protect our guy, whether you like it or not. And like Bryson, just keep on doing what you're doing. Like, I mean, like he's listening to me, but just keep doing what you're doing.
It might be. I have a couple more things for you. I tend to I feel a little bit sorry for him because you have to rewind this multiple years. The amount of risk he took on Reid to be different, to be the single length iron guy, to wear the hat, to put on 40 pounds, to try. Remember when he tried side saddle putting? Like, I mean, he has tried everything. And that's risky, Reid. Like, imagine if this guy did not have 8 PGA Tour wins, he had 1 sports, he would be the laughing stock of golf, right? Look at this guy trying to do it different, where we've got however many years of history to show how this game is played. He's trying to do it differently, and he's failing. And I don't think there's a lot of golfers, I don't think there's a lot of humans that would take on that much risk to be ridiculed. And he's been successful, very successful at it. And I just feel like he is not reaping the benefits of the risk that he took and continues to take.
Yeah, and not to get too meta here, but like, is that our society, especially in sports too, right? Especially in an individual game, in an individual sport like golf, what is the barometer of success? Is it majors, right? Is it the amount of money you make? Is it breaking down your game? Because how many times do we look at a guy who just won, right? And they go to their coach and be like, I want to change my swing. Like, I just gained 18 strokes putting, Sergio Garcia. I want to close my eyes. Like, how many times do we see that in golf, right? Where you break down and then they go on like a 2-year win drought. They don't do like you mentioned. Bryson he wants to be the best, right? Does Brooks want to be the best? Brooks wants to be the best based off of, and this is just my interpretation. He wants to be the best by dominating at the majors, right? If that is the barometer of success in our industry, then he's doing a pretty dang good job of it, right? Is the best being number one on tour? Like, whatever that barometer is, I would argue Bryson is closer to that than most people, not named like John Rahm, who's just doing it because he's really good at golf. But like, historically, for I would say decades, if not more, Rick, it's been play golf, don't do anything outside of golf, and that's it, right? This hasn't been a personality game until the last probably 20 to 25 years.
Right. Yeah, it literally became, you want to go super meta and talk about society. It literally became a personality game when a black guy came in and dominated a white man's sport. Right. And that's exactly what Tiger Woods did. And it became a personality thing. And you loved Tiger or you hated him. And then it kind of pitted, you got Phil Mickelson involved because he was a foe or a villain. And then it's been that way since. And I think that you are getting, we are starting now in the last couple of weeks to get a sense of what Bryson's peers feel about all of this. Harris English a couple of weeks ago, when they were coming down the stretch, he mentioned how difficult it must be for Bryson to play out there. Stuart Sink made similar comments. Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay went on record just in the last couple of days, kind of addressing the situation. And that's when I start to really be like, wow, like it might not only be impacting Bryson, but that now his peers are saying like, yeah, this is a really tough spot to be. And say what you will about heckling in sports, and these guys should be able to handle it. If your peers are inside the ropes and saying this is different than the way it normally is, I think that's noteworthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you mentioned this, and Cantlay's mentioned this in his thing. You get a couple of liquid courage, you kick back a couple of those on a hot summer's day, in New Jersey or anywhere for that matter, in Arizona, in Phoenix, in anywhere. You're gonna say some things that you wouldn't. And no other sport, like maybe courtside, right? But you have to have access to courtside NBA.
Right.
You need to, have like a crypto punk. Like, in this day and age, you can't. Like, you can see what I've been researching like over the last.
I love it. Hours. We're gonna do a second pod on NFTs after this.
Perfect. But you have access, like, to golfers, to your quote unquote heroes, right? So you're so close to them that they can hear what you're whispering to your friend or to your significant other or to whoever it is and even worse, if they're right there, like yelling, like this is like the amount of access and like the proximity you have to professional athletes is it's not even like there's no second, like it is golf. And when you have that, and it's now about like this sport where you don't have a stadium, right? It's like this huge land of real estate that you have, and you have all of these moving parts. And you go to a tournament, and it's like there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people like in carts, and it's madness. Even like on Monday, Rick, when we were at Northern Trust, and it was only media for the final round, which was fantastic, by the way. I followed Rom and EVR and Smith, that final group.
I got to tell you, it is selfishly like being at an event with no fans was amazing.
I like fans. You are the best.
Yeah.
You make the sport everything. But man, I loved not having you there selfishly on Monday, because I was right there next to Rom every single shot on the final, like in the final round of the first leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Like the access that you have to these guys and the proximity it's crazy. So even if you jingle your keys, that could screw them up, right? It's crazy. So with Bryson, like there's no way you can shut that off unless you have literally like not even noise canceling headphones would be able to shut that off. Like, and so like I get why these guys are saying that, because there's no other sport like it.
And the other thing is, we go from city to city. So the people in Jersey, they got their crack, but you go to Baltimore, these people haven't had a chance to say anything yet. They think they're really cool and creative for calling them Brooksy. And then we go somewhere else and they get a crack. Like if we played the same course over and over, you'd probably get similar types of people. It would wear itself out. Nope. It's like the wave. It just travels to a new city every single week. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's the traveling circus.
All right. Reid, you are the man. Before I let you out of here, any Bryson secrets that you want to divulge and get fired over?
On the 300 yards of my debut, maybe my first. And do I get a reoccurring role?
If DraftKings fires you, it'll be you and me every single week. Yeah, that's the least I could do.
Man, can I give away any? No, I don't think there is. Honestly, like. I'm not just saying that because I am kind of saying because I want to keep my job and keep on talking to Bryson. But like what I'll say about this and like what I'll say about what you were mentioning about Bryson, the guys like that I've seen, with Bryson, the other golfers, like they have nothing but glowing things to say about him. And interaction wise, they're like, it's not like he's a pariah, right? It's not like he's sitting by himself at the cafeteria, like Finau. All of these guys come up to him, and in the interview we talked about he and I think it was JT were talking about the captain's pick for the Ryder Cup. Like he's well respected amongst most of the people on tour, right? Like and his interaction with the crowd is much different than Brooks. Like Brooks doesn't even look up, right? And that's his thing. Like people will be talking to Brooks, like, "Hey Brooks, good luck," this and that. Nothing. So like, and that's not bad either, right? He's in his moment, man. He's in his element, and you gotta love him for that, Brooks. So it's just, like I said, take the good with the bad with Bryson and with all of these guys, because they're human, but at the same time, like there's a lot of stuff to be had on the PGA Tour for these golfers. So we should be holding them to a high standard, but they're only human.
Thank you, Reid. You are the man.
All right. Thanks,
man. I appreciate you. Reid T. Fowler on Twitter. You can follow me at RickRunGood. This has been 300 Yards to Unknown, and we'll catch you next time.